say, okay? Look, you had a turban growing up, I didn't. Is that what you're saying? I get mistaken for being Indian all the time. And it annoys me too because there's a difference, bro. People are like, you're Indian. I'm not Indian. You can't just pick any brown person and call us Indian. You're not Columbus.
Comedians have always been the rebels on the stage, pushing boundaries and saying what others won't dare to. Lately, they're facing a new kind of showdown against woke hecklers who can't take a joke and decide to hijack the spotlight. But here's the real question. When did comedy shows become battlegrounds for political correctness? And why can't some people just let the joke land?
It's like, no, those people, man. I'll stay at home, keep these political jokes to myself. I can laugh. Do you know what it's not about? Yelling out random
Stand-up comedy has always been that special place where boundaries don't just exist to be respected, they're there to be crossed. Comedians have this unique way of saying the things we all think but don't dare to say out loud. They dig into the uncomfortable truths, the raw realities, and sometimes the downright absurd.
Do you know the problem is that I'm getting time now. I've only got a certain amount of time on stage.
Well, I'm sure your people here will give you more time.
No, they don't do it like that. That's why.
No, that's all right. No. So what is this? Is this?
How many people's lives have you ruined? Because you've ruined about 70 people's tonight, so.
But here's where things get messy. We're living in a time where woke culture is all about extreme sensitivity and political correctness. Woke culture tries to reshape conversations, putting strict limits on what's okay to joke about and what's off limits. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with caring about others' feelings. But in comedy?
Hey? I'm not heckling, dude. I'm the one on stage. You're the one who's heckling. I got the microphone. I'm supposed to be here. Actually, my name's out there on the door.
Here's where the real clash happens. When someone from the audience, a heckler, decides they're not just going to be a spectator, but rather the self-appointed referee of what's appropriate. It's like throwing a wrench into a well-oiled machine. These hecklers, often fired up with their woke beliefs, disrupt the show because they're offended by something the comedian says.
Holding her over the toilet every single time. That's what you're saying.
I'm actually not talking to you.
I think that's what we all wanted.
This is where comedians show their true colors. They're not just going to stand there and take it. They've got a mic, quick wit, and years of dealing with this exact scenario. They're ready to fight back, to take that heckler's outrage and twist it into something even funnier. It's almost like a ritual in comedy clubs. This back and forth where the comedian reclaims the stage and often humiliates the heckler in a way that leaves the crowd cheering.
You're not even a high class of heckler. You're like the Jared Leto Joker of hecklers.
This heckler, a woman, takes offense at something minor Morrill said and starts talking back like she's there to set him straight. You can almost feel the tension in the room as she tries to put him on the spot, thinking she's going to rattle him.
Feet on the stage, too. You're very, yeah. You don't give a No, I mean, I figured that out. It's weird that became a point of pride.
But if there's one thing about Morrill, it's that he's quick on his feet. Instead of backing down or getting defensive, he leans right into it. He takes her attitude and throws it back at her, twisting her words and reactions in a way that makes the whole thing hilarious.
The bad thing, when people are like, that guy just doesn't give a But I think white women have stolen that and weaponized it. And they're too annoying for us to say anything.
It's like he's got this magic ability to turn the heckler's outburst into his ammunition. By calling her out on her behavior, like having her feet up on the stage, he doesn't just disarm her, he gets the whole crowd on his side.
It's not like I'm a nobody anymore. I've been doing this 16 years. I've dealt with a million versions of you, and you're...
What's brilliant here is that Morrill doesn't even need to go for any big, aggressive put-downs. His humor is more subtle, almost casual, but it hits hard.
When I was 3 years old, the second Gulf War broke out in Israel, and we were terrified that Saddam Hussein is gonna shoot mustard gas at us.
But what about the Palestinians?
Can I finish I'm just talking about how I spent, how I got shot with rockets. What about the Palestinians? It's like if you told me, man, I got beat up by the KKK.
Comedy's always been about tackling the tough stuff, and a few topics are as loaded as the Israel-Palestine conflict. Some comedians, though, take on these global issues head-on, even when it means dealing with hecklers who just can't let it go.
And I would be like, sure, but what about Chinese children? You know, it's both sad. Can it be both tragic? What's your name? France. I feel like if you're an Israeli, as soon as you leave Israel, you get a new job. You become the ambassador of Israel.
Imagine a comedian on stage sharing a bit about growing up under the constant threat of rockets in Israel. It's personal, it's raw, and yeah, it's probably uncomfortable for some people to hear. But before he can finish, someone in the audience cuts in with, "What about the Palestinians?" It's like they're there not to enjoy the show, but to make a point.
Will flock to the nearest Israeli, and they will ask for a press release. What do you mean we're not real Jew Israel?
5 to 13 tribes, what was spoke about in the book, the people that were here before that. It talks about very dumb, sorry, melanin people. First of all, the origin of humanity.
Yes.
The thing is, the comedian isn't just going to back down or avoid the topic. Instead, he uses dark humor to keep going, to make light of his own painful experiences while acknowledging that there's more than one side to any story. He doesn't pretend it's all black and white. Instead, he makes jokes that show how complex it all is, adding a little humor to soften the heavy stuff. And in a way, that's his way of processing things. Humor can be a powerful tool for dealing with trauma, after all. By making people laugh at something so intense, he's not dismissing the tragedy. He's finding a way to survive it.
I feel like you haven't experienced enough life or death situations with animals. You know what I mean? Do you think an animal cares about your life? You think a polar bear is going, you know what? She's probably got backgammon on Tuesday. Maybe I won't eat her.
Andrew Schulz is the kind of comedian who loves to go straight for the jugular, especially when it comes to woke ideologies. He's got this fearless style where he'll take on just about any topic, and he's not afraid to say what's on his mind, even if it means ruffling some feathers. It's pretty much his trademark.
But I understand, you like animals because, you know, you live in the first world and it's boring and we gotta care about shit. I get it, I'm with you. Say again?
Do you see me? I'm technically from third world country, technically.
I almost thought you said, do you see me? I'm an animal. And I was...
One of the best examples is when he faced off against an animal rights heckler during his set. This person, all fired up about protecting every single animal on the planet, probably thought they could throw him off with a guilt trip about eating meat or something like that.
Oh, so you had some real shit.
Yeah, some real shit.
And in the Philippines, are there any animals that they eat that we don't eat here?
I was told from my English friend that we're not going to win this.
You're not gonna win this.
But Schulz didn't miss a beat. He immediately started spinning their argument back on them, using sarcasm and some funny personal anecdotes to make it clear how out of touch they were. He even pointed out that while this heckler is busy worrying about animal rights, they're probably completely unaware of the harsher realities other people have to deal with. Like, are you losing sleep over polar bears when there are people who don't even have clean drinking water? So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.